Describe how your church does communion, how often, what kind of elements you use, who serves it, what is the tone, etc. Hello, my name is Elena Huegel, and I greet you from San Cristobal de las Casas in Chiapas, southern Mexico. Today I'm going to share with you a little bit about Communion Day at the Pentecostal Church of Chile, a longtime partner of Global Ministries, and where I served for 20 years. Communion Day is awaited with great expectation by the members of the Pentecostal Church of Chile. Since Communion Day only comes 2 to 4 times a year, depending on the congregation, it is a very special day. In the Curicó Church, considered the cathedral of the Pentecostal Church of Chile, some 3,000 people take communion together. Most of the members of the church will begin to prepare 1 to 2 weeks in advance by participating in special services, fasting, and prayer vigils. Before and after taking communion, people can come forward to receive healing prayers by laying on of hands. There are many testimonies of healings on Communion Day, as well as answers to other prayers. Only men and women who have become full pastors and are no longer testing pastors may preside over communion. They are usually helped in their local congregations by the elders or officers of the church. Even though Chilean wines are famous worldwide, the members of the Pentecostal Church of Chile are teetotalers. This presents a problem when it comes to communion. In a country where wine production is an important industry, it is nearly impossible to buy grape juice. Since there isn't any grape juice available, the pastors, and often the pastoras or the pastors' wives, prepare their own wine recipes for communion. They make sure to cook off all of the alcohol and then add their own secret ingredients such as cloves or cinnamon. Smaller churches might use homemade bread, but the larger churches use store-bought white bread sliced into squares. Tell us about 1 or 2 things you think are most important to your congregation about communion. Everyone in the Pentecostal Church of Chile participates in communion, even tiny babies who aren't yet walking. In most churches, the children must wait until the very end of the communion service, after everyone else has been served, before they come to the table. At the Curicó Church, it is a memorable moment when hundreds of squirming children of all ages come forward and wait in line, their eyes bright with curiosity and excitement. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, children and adults would drink from common cups and break a piece of bread. Now most churches are using disposable cups and pre-sliced bread. Tell us something about your context that you would like for us to know and to pray about because of our unity in Christ. Normally, the communion service at the Pentecostal Church of Chile is a very formal affair. However, the bishop has given the SHALOM Center, the environmental education and spiritual development camp of the church, special permission to hold communion services at the end of sessions as long as a pastor is there to bless the elements. For the campers, it is a unique experience to share communion outside under the trees while wearing clothes that are dirty after a week in the mountains. The young adults on the staff, who would probably never help to serve communion in their own churches because of their age, have the privilege of ministering to the members of their small group with whom they have been working all week. Communion at the SHALOM Center is often the highlight of the end of camp and is a moment to affirm new friendships and commitments. Please pray for the SHALOM Center. Like other camps and conference centers, the spring and summer programs from September through March have been canceled, but the staff is creating new ways to accompany the children, youth, and adults during these difficult times around the themes of resilience, dignity, and hope.
Greetings from the Philippines. I grew up in a rural church in the island of Palawan, my father being a pastor of the United Church of Christ in the Philippines. Coming from the Presbyterian tradition, we do communion every first Sunday of the month. Our church would use communion elements based on what are available in the local area. Then and now, we use grape juice as our wine. I remember there were times we used crackers and the big bread to share, even root crops such as sweet potato as our communion element. Our communion is being served by lay leaders, particularly deacons elected in the church every year. Presently, I am married to an Episcopalian priest, and the Episcopal Church have communion every single service or mass that they do. So if there is 3 services a day, then there will be 3 communions a day. And it is being served by ordained ministers, or deacons, and ordained priests. And they also use mass wine and bread as the element. For UCCP, the communion is a fellowship for all. Priority is given to children. They are being ushered by their Sunday school teacher to take the communion first, and then the rest of the congregation are welcome to take the communion. And for the elderly and those who are differently able, the servers would approach them in their seats to ensure that they also partake of this fellowship. There is nothing different with the Episcopal Church because they also do the same thing. Children are the priority, and the rest of the congregation are also, of course, welcome. Whoever is in the church, and the elderly are being served in their seats. Here in the Philippines, we are greatly affected by COVID-19 pandemic, same with the rest of the world. In fact, we are still not allowed to gather as a congregation here in Metro Manila. But my home church in Palawan is already gathering every Sunday, except for the elderly and the children. We continue to ask for God's guidance and provision for us to survive this. Beyond this pandemic, UCCP is continuously doing its prophetic ministry of serving the poor and the marginalized, especially in the countryside. And because of this, our church leaders continue to experience persecution in the form of harassment and trump-up charges of rebellion from some government troops. This is also causing conflicts within the church. So we ask for your prayers for our church, for our leaders, and for the Philippine government. God bless us all in this World Communion Sunday.
Hello dear ecumenical friends and happy Communion Sunday. When we celebrate communion in my church, we usually use bread and wine, of course. But we come here from a very reformed tradition, so a lot of families from the Huguenots, they fled here. And in the reformed tradition, it is not so important to have Holy Communion every Sunday. So we celebrate it about once a month, and most importantly on the important feasts like Good Friday and Easter and Christmas and the last day of the church year when we commemorate the people who have died from our congregation. You have seen pictures of how we are doing it at the moment. Everything is of course different because of COVID. So we have not had any communion until that one Sunday when we had the confirmation, and we made it in a very special and hygienic way. One thing that is important for my congregation is that they have one communion chalice. So even though some people prefer individual small chalices, we offer those. But for those who want the sense of communion by using the same chalice, they can do that. We have had last year a very long debate in my congregation about how we want to celebrate the communion. It used to be so that with the confirmation you would be allowed to join the communion table. But Jesus never asked those who were confirmed, but those who were baptized. So we had a long debate in our church board and with lots of church members, and tried to communicate that it's Jesus who is inviting, and it's not us, the church, who can set boundaries to that. So we are inviting everyone, and it has been a wonderful experience to celebrate communion, for example, with children only. They are really having a sense of holiness when they do this. I've also been asked to share with you something that we would like you or invite you to pray for when it comes to us. But honestly, at the moment, I think the place and the country that needs our prayers is your country. And I want to assure you that we keep your country in our prayers with all the issues that you have when it comes to violence, when it comes to the fires, when it comes to the elections. And we know that a lot of people are scared and see that it's such a division being created. And we see that as well. And we hope that you and your congregation can overcome the division amongst each other and that you can stand together. So we keep you in our prayers on World Communion Sunday.